Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, the #1 resource for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners to learn how to make money, accumulate wealth, and to all out ball out in the auto industry. And now your hosts, Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams. Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is L.A. Williams, and I am here on the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. Season number 3 is upon you. And today I have, of course, my awesome super duper leader, the host with the most, Mr. Sean V. Bradley. What's up, Sean?
What's up, my brother? How you doing?
I'm super ecstatic about the guest that we have on today. I think this might be one of the first treepeats that we got, who's been on every single season of the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast because she's so valuable.
Who's she? Who is this she you speak of?
She, aka T.
Oh, T.
T.
Okay. Oh, you mean T as, so we have a celebrity in the house today.
Oh,
T got your keys?
T got your keys. Yo, it was so funny. So everyone knows that, T is the Bradley's daughter, right? So this is I think it's hilarious. So I think you guys will enjoy it as well. There was one point in time, a weekend or something like that T had her little brothers for the weekend or something. And so Karina's like, oh, T got our kids. T got your keys, T got our kid. That was funny to me. I thought that was funny. So anyway, what's up, T?
Nothing much going on. Thanks so much for having me here.
You got the keys, you got the kids, you got it all,
everything.
Man.
I got everything.
Excellent.
You got it all.
Here's what I know you probably got. You probably, because you tell us what's the deal. You fresh out of a dealership, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So T got some stories. That's what she got.
Got some stories.
Well, let's play this. So Tianna, how long did you work on the front line selling cars?
So 2 years, a little over 2 years.
Okay, and you worked for 2 different dealerships. You don't have to mention the names, but you worked for 2 different dealerships?
Yep, 2 different dealerships at 2 different brands.
Okay, in what state?
Pennsylvania.
Okay, so you worked for a Chrysler Dodge Jeep dealership, and then you just came from a Buick GMC dealership, correct?
Correct, yep.
Okay, so that's a lot of franchises, and you are product certified for Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Buick, Chevy, and GMC. Is that correct? Yep. Okay, wow. All right, so then I want to just jump right into it. Were you good selling cars?
Yes.
All right, fair enough.
She look, I'm not even going to be modest about it. Let me just tell you, yes.
All right. So
I love it.
You sold, what was it, like 18, 19 cars was your most, and you average about 18, 19 cars a month?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, but I'm going to let you say it in your own words that you weren't really focused on volume. You had volume at 18, 19 cars a month. That's still more than double what the national average is. But there was something that you specialize in. Let's talk about that.
Yes, definitely. So obviously having volume is definitely valuable and needed in the car business. Everybody knows that numbers, but the most important number is definitely the one on your paycheck. So the gross is definitely what I can hit right on the head.
And so from my understanding that you were consistently month after month pretty much the gross leader. And even if you sold 18 cars, you outgrossed people selling 25, 26 cars in a month. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right.
Okay, so let's talk about that right there. Is how did you get that mindset? Was it from your family like us, or is it on your own, or is it just because you saw the difference in your paychecks? How? Because we never even talked about this, LA, to be honest with you. This is like a first right here. What made you become a gross beast?
So I think the thing that made me realize is that right now, especially these times that we're in now, there's not a lot of people walking in the door. So you want to give it your all and your best shot on the first time and every single time, just because you don't know if you're going to have that opportunity. I also realized that there's a lot of different ways to gross in your deals. It's not just not discounting the car. There's so many other ways for you to hold gross and make money for the dealership and for yourself as well. So I really just realized that, if I am going to be at 18, 19, I'm not going to be, 30 giving cars away. I want to definitely make the most money on every single one of those cars.
It's funny, LA, obviously, LA's blind, right? And so what happens?
He is?
Yeah. So I believe that his senses and a lot of other people, are like overcompensate for missing of a sense. And so if I'm understanding you correctly, because you're a sharp, automotive professional, you understand if there's not a lot of volume coming through your doors. You actually said a statement to me that blew me away that you were so young. You said this, man, if I can't count them, I'm going to weigh them. Yeah, I mean, how fat are these deals, right? And so that is awesome. So you're overcompensating for not being a tier 1 franchise, because at Buick GMC, where you just left, that's a tier 2 franchise. You're not a Toyota, a Honda, a Ford, or Chevrolet. So you're figuring, hell, if this is all I got to work with, I'm not taking minis. I'm not taking little bullshit commissions. Mm-hmm. I'm going to crush gross. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct. Yep. Absolutely.
LA, what's your standpoint on that?
I think it's awesome. I think that, for me, I've always been because I've been training under Sean Bradley for years. And the number one thing we always talk about volume. Gross is not so much of a conversation, but obviously we know it's extremely important, because I come from the Coveyism and all of that good stuff. Is I'm like, shit, why not have both? You know what I'm saying? But if I'm going to have one, then absolutely, I'm going to make some money out this thing, because that's what we're here for.
Absolutely. So just to build off of this, you made a statement just now, Tianna, where you said there's more than one way to gross on a deal. Break that down. What did you mean by that?
So obviously the first thing that comes to everyone's mind is not discounting the car, and obviously saying, we put a lot of time, money, effort into reconditioning these vehicles. So, not coming off the top dollar that you already have advertised. And another way is obviously with your trade-ins. A lot of people don't understand about like silent walkarounds, how to devalue a trade, because a lot of times customers will, point out, nicks and dings on the car they're buying. But a lot of the time salespeople don't even go out to their car they're trading in to say, well, what about this? We have to fix this, this, and that. That's a lot of money that comes out of the dealership's pocket that salespeople don't realize is hurting a lot of their gross.
Okay, so I heard maintaining, the gross profit on the deal by not discounting, or discounting as least as possible. And I'm gonna build on that. So not discounting, but there's customer cash, there's dealer cash, there's rebates, and so you could show a significant discount to the prospect without actually, losing a lot of gross, because there's dealer cash, there's customer cash, there's rebates, there's things like that. Mm-hmm. But then I like what you said just right here, trade. 75% of all car deals involve a trade-in. And so there's a lot of money that could be on this. Our friend Danny Zlowski, who's the dealer principal of the Country Hill Motors independent dealer group in Kansas City, he says that, you could make just as much money, if not more money, in buying the cars the right way. Mm-hmm. And so you could make a lot of gross on deals by trading in at the correct rate. Now, here's another one. What about down payment? To me, down payment has always been the key to profitability in a car deal. And if you're able to get more down from people, it's going to increase the profit of the overall deal. What are your thoughts on that, T?
No, I think you're absolutely correct. A lot of people, for example, when I was working at the dealership before I left the other one, there was a lot of credit challenge customers, and a lot of people didn't have too much to put down. A lot of deals were cut, banks were cut. We either have to, they're only at a certain amount. So it's either we cut our prices or they put more down. So I saw a lot of people, they rather just have the deal, and they feel so uncomfortable asking the customer for money. And I don't understand that, because, if they want the car, they're definitely going to try everything they can to utilize everything they have, all their resources to get that vehicle. So instead of cutting your deal, cutting your prices, don't be afraid. Just simply ask the question, because if you don't, the answer is always no.
That's it.
If you don't get it. That's a nugget. Where's your special effects? We're going to drop some bombs.
Yeah, we're in the office today, so I'm doing all that stuff post-production. You know what I'm
saying? Shots. Not those shots, but those shots, right? So see, that was a hell of a nugget right there. So let me just regurgitate this. Gross profit is extremely powerful. If you want to make a lot of money and earn a lot of money, you need to put more meat on those bones, so to speak. And it's more than just having price integrity and not discounting off of list price, but it's also working your trade. It's also working down payment. Here's another one too, term. I'm going to tell you this too, because again, a lot of people, you might be able to close somebody at a 60-month finance for, let's say, $400 a month, right? And you have that deal. I've done this before. If the desk pencils me, X amount of dollars down, let's just say it's 2 G's total out of pocket, and then it's a 60-month finance and you're at like $400 a month. What I would do is I would go back to my prospect and hit them with a 66-month. Because if you think about this, $400 times 6 months, that's an extra $2,400, that's tied to the deal, times 0.20. That could be an extra $480 commission my way. So again, a 4-square sheet is a good way to think about this. So if you draw a cross in the middle of a piece of paper, right? And then you put the trade-in information, you put vehicle of interest, you put down payment or investment, and then monthly investment. So to me, there's 4 quadrants that you have to structure a car deal. Everybody understands this. It's the vehicle of interest, it is the trade-in, it's the initial investment, the down payment, and it's the monthly investment. So what I feel is that most salespeople, you were very good at this, but most salespeople are not focused on gross. They work the desk instead of working the customer.
Yes.
But if you work, the customer and you develop skills, the product presentation and road to the sale handles the vehicle of interest. If you do a phenomenal road to the sale, if you do a great product presentation, great demonstration drive, you'll be able to build enough value to justify the price on the vehicle or minimum discounts on, off MSRP, yada, yada, yada. But to your point, Tianna, if you don't understand the trade-in process, if you don't understand what Kelley Blue Book instant cash value is, True Car Trade is, Edmunds used car values are, then you don't have any real logic or intelligence to be able to engage with. And so if you start mastering those things, like you said, the silent walk around, what about this? What about this? You could increase the value that you get as the dealer and decrease the amount that you're going to cut a check when you do that. If you could build value on down payment, if you come up with word tracks and verbiage that you could really, explain to people why it makes sense to put more money down. I'll give you one example. You mentioned credit challenge people. Now, unfortunately, there's usually a correlation. If somebody's got credit challenges, they might not necessarily have a lot of down payment or stroke to put down. However, don't assume that they don't, because there's a lot of rich people that have got bad credit. They've got bad real estate deals. They've got divorce. They've got, bad habits, whatever, that's there. So again, LA even caught that. He didn't even see that, right? That's so funny, LA. But if you're able to explain to somebody, here's one little tip, that if you put 20% down, it's an automatic tier bump, okay? So if you put 20% down, if you were tier 2 credit and that's what your interest rate was and your payments are effective, by putting 20% down, you will get the absolute best credit rating humanly possible for your FICO score in your situation. So again, now I'm building value on why the down payment's there. The other thing is extending the term. You know what I mean? Like I mentioned before, instead of doing a 60-month, hell, you could even do a 63-month. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a 66. It doesn't have to be 72, but you have the leeway as a salesperson on how to structure that deal. T, what are your thoughts on what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with everything. I think a lot of salespeople and sometimes even, managers fall victim to just simply looking at one piece of the puzzle and not realizing there's so many others, like the Foursquare. They only focused on the price of the vehicle. They're ignoring the trade, ignoring how much money they're putting down, ignoring interest rate, ignoring all of that. So unless you're going to utilize and look at the whole picture, you're never going to get the results that you want.
Yeah. I want to amend that.
I want to ask, and Sean, I know you got great questions, man. Are there any other reasons? Because I want us to dig into why this happens, because I'm a trainer, right? And so I always kind of feel for the audience. And, people are like, some people, Sean, you'd be surprised. I've spoken to many people in the automotive industry that don't know what a Foursquare is. And I'm like, a customer worksheet. Never heard of it. What?
I'm going to tell you why. Because the Foursquare sheet is equated towards bad car people. Like back in the day, it's it's a bad thing, especially for like a lot of these publicly traded dealer groups that are out there. Mm-hmm. They don't like using the word Foursquare because there's such a negative connotation towards it. So that's why they call it a customer worksheet. And sometimes some organizations have even taken those 4 quadrants or that cross on a piece of paper out of it, because it's Foursquare for some people has such a negative stigma. You know what I mean? And they want to try to go opposite of, because it could bleed back into the greasy, grimy car salespeople of the 70s and 80s, sort of speaking. You know what I'm saying?
I totally understand that. And so it just becomes one of those situations where we use a different means to get to the same end. It's like, what are we doing here? Because if we understand that is a great way, even if I'm not going to use it in front of the customer, even if I'm going to train my people, we know that this is the best way, or one of the best ways, to help someone understand a car deal. There's no way that I, as a blind person, would be able to sell a car like I've done without understanding the Foursquare. I mean, that's how I understand how a car deal works. So what other ways? So, I mean, like, maybe I'm the one who's confused over here. What other ways are there to explain how to properly sell a car without a simple visualization like a Foursquare?
Well, again, you need something, and I would agree. And so here's what the different ones there are. So the traditional or old school Foursquare, I still love. I just don't treat it the way that a shady person does.
Right,
I use Foursquare for good, not for evil. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I want you to put, when you edit this, I want you to put like a Dr. Evil, you know, on there. I use the Foursquare for good, not for evil. That's the first thing. Second thing, though, LA, to your point, is that there's different things that you could have, even if it's just a questionnaire. It's a customer upsheet, customer worksheet. It's, there has to be something that gives that sales rep the opportunity to ask certain questions. But you asked a good question, Ali. You said, why is it that this doesn't happen? I'm going to say it goes back to why the whole automotive industry is fucked up. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is that there's an attrition of 70 to 80% attrition ratio, which means that out of the 16,500 franchise dealerships, there is at least a couple 100,000 automotive professionals. And that means that out of that, 70, 80% are not going to work for their same dealership within the first year. So what happens is, since we have such a revolving door, what happens to us is that we don't properly onboard somebody the right way. And let's talk about this for a second here. People used to say, when I started selling cars 22 years ago, car sales isn't rocket science. Car sales is not that big a deal. And you know what? 20 years ago, you're right. We didn't have social media, CRMs, digital, PR, video, all the stuff that we have today, heat mapping, websites, SEO, SEM, behavioral marketing, speech recognition. I mean, there's a myriad of advanced technological things. It's not rocket science, but it's pretty damn sophisticated. And I think that a lot of these dealers are not onboarding people the right way. And I'm going to ask Tianna this question, for her. But my belief is that that's the chicken or the egg. That's one of the first problems right there, is that there's not a proper onboard. You can't be a fucking doctor in a trauma unit without going to medical school for like 12 years. They're not going to let you near a scalpel in a person. So why are we letting salespeople that are just straight off the street, that never sold cars in their life, they give them a bullshit training regimen for a week or two, throw them on the floor to sink or swim? So that's the first thing. Tianna, let's go to you, the resident expert. Tell us the realities, and not mentioning any dealerships' names, and this could be from where you worked, or you have a lot of friends that are in the automotive industry and you've been doing the national conference circuit. What do you find for new hires? How are they onboarded, really? Be honest.
That says it all right there.
I'm speechless.
No, but you just came off the dealership world. So what is a typical, from your experience? Remember, from online, from your network, or from firsthand experience from the different stores that you worked at? Mm-hmm. And remember, you worked at multiple stores. So what does a typical onboarding look like for salespeople? So
a typical onboarding process, your first day is kind of like, it's not planned at all. You're kind of thrown into the mix, especially in the automotive world in general. There's so much thrown at you every day. Different deliveries move around, time frames, customers show up, they don't. So that I feel when a employee is onboarded into the dealership, that they feel like they're kind of thrown around in different directions. And the only thing that they need to focus on is product knowledge. They don't train them on how to speak to somebody. They tell you, hi, here's where service is, and that's pretty much it. There's no qualifying questions. There's almost nothing. I was really surprised when actually, I watched you and Karen Bradley talk to all different dealers, clients, go to different dealerships. And I was like, wow, like you really, you know, the people that you connect with are professionals. They, you know, they know their stuff, but I also know other dealerships and other friends of mine that it's a complete mess, and it's hard to retain someone and keep someone there. And it's hard for somebody to see the dealership as their business if you don't treat them as a business partner. You kind of just treat them as a person that's kind of there to watch the door. Does that make sense?
That's a lot of sense. L.A., I'm going to build on what she just said. Two things that jump out, Tianna, right from the jump is the control chaos. Let me explain and build some clarity into it, because the car dealership world is a month-to-month business. I mean, it's the only major organization or industry that's not quarterly driven. Normal human beings, normal corporate America is quarterly driven. So you've got 3 months, right? Not the car industry. Manufacturer incentives, dealer incentives, salesperson incentives, projections, forecasting, quotas, floor plan, all that stuff is a month-to-month basis. So when you you have only a 30-day grind to get all the shit done, sometimes managers don't turn around and have the best cohesive strategy to bring somebody in a calm thing. There, it's like this storm. You know what I think of when you think of Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump, the guy that had no legs. Like it's a middle of a storm, and he's like, he's on his boat, right? And he's weathering the storm. To me, that's what it's like when you onboard somebody. They're in the middle of control chaos, because most of the industry is struggling for HR and recruiting. So they usually recruit or hire out of desperation or when they're short-staffed. And so when you're there, it's hard. You're pulling people. Even if you wanted to give them a 30 days or 6 weeks of training, it's usually cut back or it's changed, to your point, because there could be a delivery. Your training manager might have been scheduled to spend an hour with you, but then some heat case came in over floor mats or whatever, so they're pulled through. So I think you're very valid that it's not really controlled and consistent. So a tip would be is to have a real solid training protocol, a real solid onboarding protocol, and then even a contingency to that, which means here's what my ideal onboarding strategy is. It is going to be 5 weeks or 6 weeks. If everything was Hakuna Matata, like, Lion King, everything's great. We could do that way. However, if shit hits the fan, you know what? Man, we might have to make some changes here, and here, but at least we have 4 weeks. And you know what? If shit is like, we're desperate, here's the 3 weeks. Here's the bare minimum that we need to onboard. And once you come up with that plan and you stick to it and you don't turn around and change your mind, that's the other problem dealers have. They make a commitment on a million different things and they change it, within 2 weeks or 3 weeks, or when the DP or the GM freaks out or whatever. LA? Yeah,
let me jump in here. So right now it's the football season and our Eagles just lost the first week and everything like that. Okay, great, whatever. So what happened was, folks were getting injured on the offensive line. And it sounds like what you guys are saying that happens in the automotive industry is, okay, we got people that are injured. Okay, we got to throw the new people in. I mean, that's kind of what happened to them. And then what happens when they get injured, it's like, okay, well, let's grab some random folks on the street or some college kids. And if they get injured, okay, we got to go grab some high school kids. I mean, that's, and the circle never stops.
Absolutely.
1,000%. So 1,000%.
But see, I know I have managers who are listening to this that says that sounds ridiculous, right? They say that, oh my gosh, if your NFL team did that, you'd be like, oh my gosh, what in the world are they doing? And then you go to the work and do the same exact thing, right? We have to have training camp. There is a purpose for preseason games. There's a purpose for training camp. And when something like COVID, cuts that all out of the way, then we're in a lot of trouble. The NFL is acting like the daggum automotive industry.
1,000%. People's mindsets are really shot when it comes to onboarding. Onboarding is not just product knowledge. I've said this a million times, Ella. The word track I get come out of my mouth is that if you believe that car sales is like owning your own business, which it should be, right? You should treat car sales profession like you're an entrepreneur. However, product knowledge, and even you didn't mention the road to the sale. What normal dealerships do is they'll do product knowledge from the manufacturer because they have no choice. The manufacturer makes them do that. And mostly they'll at least try to give you a road to the sale or a version of the road to the sale. But to me, product knowledge and road to the sale does not equal an entrepreneur. It does not equal a business owner. Is that what you're saying, T?
No, absolutely correct. Say you went into school and the teacher had no idea what they were going to do. They knew that you had to learn this stuff. They had no set schedule. They had no set plan. They didn't know when they were going to teach you, math, when they were going to teach you reading. I feel like that's how the dealership should be, kind of like a school. Okay, from, 12 to 5, you're going to do this, this, and that. Then we're going to test you at the end of the day. You go home, come back, do the same thing. I feel like a lot of dealerships, like you said, because of their time management, because of their chaos, and because of everything thrown at them, they just can't grasp the concept of getting a set schedule.
But wait a minute, devil's advocate. I mean, what industries work that way? I mean, it's not like if you are, a doctor or a lawyer, it's not like I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to put you in school first. I'm going to expect you to know this stuff before you get here.
Yeah, I mean, you have to utilize Millionaire Car Salesman group. You have to utilize the podcast.
Yeah, so LA, but here's the thing though, is that there is no collegiate, and so I'm gonna play devil's advocate back with you, okay? Get my Beelzebub on, because I disagree with you, because in our industry there is no real collegiate. There's 2 universities out there, but they're mostly for like dealer principals and things like that, the NADA Academy and Northwood University. But other than that, there's no school, college that has car sales 101 or internet director or BDC rep 101, 202, 303. So, however, you can't turn around and go to a doctor, go to a hospital, and then start medical school from there. I mean, but in our industry, it's different. So what we need to figure out is, what do people need to know? Now, obviously, T, I want to give you the opportunity. What do you feel that a car salesperson, male, female, doesn't matter, somebody that sells cars on the showroom floor or sells internet sales, not a BDC rep, I don't care if they come from the floor or they come from appointments. If you sell cars and you're doing a product presentation, demonstration drive, delivery, etc., besides the road to the sale and product knowledge, what else do you think that salespeople need to know how to do?
I think the most important and vital thing that a lot of sales professionals don't utilize or even take classes on or read books about is just the psychology of human beings. You can learn so much about the way, for example, if you ask for so much down and they lean back, or if they cross their arms, or if they twitch their lip, there's so many things that can indicate a good indication or a bad sign of something. So I feel like, I read a lot of psychology books. I took psychology class in college. There's so many courses you can do online, even on YouTube, because I feel like that understanding your prospects and customers' mind is the ultimate goal, because like G.I. Joe said, knowing is half the battle.
That sounds familiar. So I'm going to go. I love that, T, because you're right. So you have psychology, and there's different types, obviously, psychology, but then there's also neurolinguistics. What you're talking about is physical neurolinguistics. Is like, there's an art to this, because I'm in the National Speakers Association, and in the NSA, this is exactly what they teach. Like, if I'm presenting, depending where I physically stand in the showroom, and depending where my prospect is directly in front of me, by the way that I'm physically positioned, it could trigger right brain or left brain. Okay. And so then let's go a little bit further than that. There's different mind patterns. You've got like the relator, the socializer, the analytical person, and then the person that might be a little bit like aggressive, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But there's different mind patterns that people have that you need to know, because to your point, psychologically speaking, is that if I'm a salesperson and I've got somebody that's an introvert, that's analytical, I can't be like, blah, 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 blah. I might freak them out. Or if I've got somebody that's like me, that's very like an A-type person that is, high energy, and then I'm like the guy I'm like Eeyore. You know what I mean? Yeah, Pooh. Yes, my tail got taken off again. I'm crazy. So that's psychology. Then there's the science of communication. 55% of communication is visual perception, body language. 38% is sound and inflection. 7% is the text, the words we use. 50% of what you say disappears the second you stop talking. 48 hours later, only 25% of that 50% remains, which is 12.5% of the original conversation. These are things 1,000% that you can do. LA, she said psychology. She knocked it out of the park. What else do you think? We're going to go through a whole list here. What else is important for a salesperson in 2020 and beyond?
I'm going to say the overall selling skills. So I love what Tianna said, and I believe that psychology is sales. I think that the two really go together. But I think just overall selling skills, things like negotiation, right? Which kind of goes to exactly what you talked about. And I like to give specific resources. So there's a book called Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Chris Voss is an FBI negotiator. And it's so crazy. What I do is I'm the kind of person that when I find a YouTube video or if I read a person's book, now I'm going to dive deeper into that person and I'm going to make friends with that person. So I've actually had conversations with Chris because I'm like, I want to know who this person is. I want to know the things that they didn't put in the book. You know what I'm saying?
When is going to be on our podcast?
Listen, absolutely. Let's make it happen. So these are, key things that I'm always looking to make happen. And the science of negotiation, people like Roger Dawson and his, simple back in the day negotiating, this stuff doesn't go away, right? Just because times change. Listen, I'm the king of saying that great customer service 5 years ago is average today. And it doesn't just apply to customer service. There's other aspects of life, but I'm telling you, the fundamentals don't change. So I think a lot of times we don't learn the fundamentals of selling, which can include psychology, but there's also negotiation. There's a lot of key factors that go into it.
Let's break it down then. So to me, when I think of selling, right, to me, to sell something, you need to have a product or service. You need to understand your product or service inside and out. You've got to believe in in my opinion, you got to believe in your product or service. Let's just use product for car sales people, right? So you got to believe in your product. You've got to love your dealership. You love your manufacturer. You need to know the product inside and out. So product knowledge is definitely part of it. Then from there, qualifying. Like Covey says, seeking first to understand and then to be understood. You can't really sell something to somebody if you truly don't understand what their wants, wishes, and expectations are. Do you agree?
100%, man. Asking questions is everything. We got to learn how to ask questions.
So how to ask the right questions. This is an art form, qualifying the prospect. Then, product selection is an art form too, if you think about it, for car salespeople, because, again, if it's too much car or too little car, the wrong car, you're not going to be able to sell the vehicle. You need to be trained on how you can identify the best vehicle. Okay. Now, once you've got that product selection, it's now you need to step up your skills in presenting, the full features and benefits, walk around presentations, how to build value on the vehicle that's relevant to that prospect. The demonstration drive, like you were talking about, the closing techniques, the trial closing techniques, the closing techniques, the negotiations, all that to me is sales. Being able to get somebody to want to buy something, I think is incredible. So sales and everything that goes to it. Okay, T, your turn. We're going to go back.
Wait. Let me add to that really quick, because I want to say, what about something simple like getting someone to feel like they know you, right? Getting someone to like you. Getting someone to trust you, believe you.
Stop. I'm going to go through that. It's there. So, let's build to the next one. He just stole that from me. So, T, you're gonna get two back to back because he just stole it. So LA, don't interrupt. I'm playing air traffic.
He's playing moderator up here. He's Chris Wallace.
I'm Chris Wallace. So I like that LA. Karen's favorite book, Karen Bradley, the world famous Karen Bradley. She loves Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. And so I need to definitely brush up on that skill because that's not one of my I'm like a
no, Sean. No LA. Sorry.
Yeah. Exactly. But you don't hear me doing fucking videos on how to win friends with people. I'm money. I mean, but yes. If you're not already a multimillionaire, then you need to turn around and brush up on your people skills. And I think that that's extremely important, is how to get people to like, trust, and believe you. And you know what? I think it's not Stephen Covey. I think it's Sean Covey. The Speed of Trust is a Covey book. I have not read it yet, but I'm not sure who the author is. I don't know if it's Stephen or his son. It's Sean. My wife read it. It's Sean Covey. So that's a great book, The Speed of Trust, because in any relationship, it's sales to go back. And I know why you said that, LA, because sales is really simple, especially in car sales. If you get somebody to like you, trust you, and believe you, if they're in the market, they're going to buy from you. So that is absolutely system critical, is to figure out how to get people to like you, trust you, and believe you. And part of that, in my opinion, is being dependable. When you promise something, you deliver. You know what I mean? Things like that. When you create a win-win, when it's not just all for you and little crumbs for them, these are things. LA, since you stole Tianna's little spot on this, so elaborate on the friends part and likability and things like that.
Absolutely. So here's the thing. I just got off a sales call right before we jumped on this podcast. So I was on a sales call. And, the first thing I'm doing is, I pick up the phone a specific way, on purpose. So the first thing I say is, hello, is this Tianna? What's the first thing she has to say to me?
Yes, this is
she has to say yes, right? So she begins her relationship telling me yes. You know what I'm talking about? So that's one of the key things that a lot of people don't do when you first pick up the phone. When if you know the person's name, obviously I had a little bit of a heads up. So that's one thing. So initially, I don't even talk about the sale thing. I said, hey, I'm just using the name Tianna. Hey, Tianna, this is L.A. Williams. I'm the vice president with Dealer Synergy. They call me the blind phone master. How's everything? So I'm comfortable asking someone how everything is going because I know how to handle no matter what they say. So she's like, oh, no, everything's good. How's everything with you? And I'm like, well, we're trying to just getting back into the swing of things. We just spent a weekend away. My wife and I just celebrated our 3rd anniversary. What? That has nothing to do with what she called about, right? But it's letting her know me a little bit more. She's like, oh, wow, congratulations. Happy anniversary. This lady been talking to me on the phone for less than 30 seconds and she's telling me happy anniversary. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, and it's not that, I made sure it's not hollow. It's not just like, oh, yeah, it's anniversary. Happy anniversary. It's not like that. I'm actually building a relationship with her. So I spent 30 seconds doing that before I say, okay, cool. So tell me a little bit about the reason for your phone call. I heard you kind of wanted some assistance with CRM. Is that correct? Yeah, well, and then she starts telling me about what's going on. So that initially, that first 30 seconds is extremely important in my book.
No, in my book as well. I want to just bring this off, and then I'm going to give Tianna, I want 2 answers, so but she's thinking of this while she's waiting, is also, to me, this builds into customer experience, even though they're still at a prospect level, but Shep Hyken is one of the world's top experts on customer satisfaction, customer experience. And
Season 1, like baby. That. Go back. Listen to it.
Yeah, Season 1. So now, Tianna, back to you. So I'm going to go through the list. Road to the sale, product knowledge, psychology, sales skills, negotiating, trusting, building rapport, customer service. I need the next one from you.
Wait a minute, T. Before you answer, let's remind everyone to subscribe to the podcast, share the podcast, let other folks know. I mean, that's if you're getting any value. If you're not getting any value, then why are you listening, number one? But number two, definitely share it with other people. Folks want to hear this information. So go ahead and share it with all of the people who you know, and definitely make sure you're subscribed. Okay, cool. T, give us the next answer.
Self-presentation.
Self-presentation. That's strong.
Tell us more.
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
Self-presentation by how you carry yourself, the way you talk, speak, act, dress, especially the way you look, your hair, your makeup, all of that kind of stuff, the way you smell. I know a lot of people in the car business, they, like back in the day, old habits are hard to break. A lot of cigarette smokers. So, I always smell people, smoking a cigarette, things like that will definitely turn some customers off and they don't realize.
Yeah, like your mom, my wife. Me too, but not as much. Like your mom, like if she smells like cigarettes, like it really repulses her. So I love that. Again, we're talking about hygiene. We're talking about appearance. We're talking about being dressed for success. So instead of, even if you, again, there's LA, I want your opinion on this. There's talk, some car salespeople like to be suited up and professional, but then I know people that refuse to wear a suit because they don't want to look like they have too much money to their prospects if they're selling Kias or Fords or something like that. What is your thought on that?
So again, that's not what the message is, just so you know. When you have a suit on or anything like that, it's not to say that you have money. It's just to show that you're put together and that you're prepared. So here's the situation. I'm a big person I can sell in whatever I'm wearing because I can get a person to look deeper than, the cover, right, of the book, right? I can get them to actually open it up and read it as I was just explaining. However, I recommend that whatever it is that you're going to do, you have a sales personality that matches that, right? So if you're going to be a t-shirt salesman, you got to have a t-shirt salesman personality that can get a person to go through that and show that you can actually bring that person value, right? If you're going to be a suit salesperson, you can't have a t-shirt sales personality. You know what I'm saying? Like,
brother, that's strong. LA, I believe that you should be dressed to the nines, in my opinion, because again, we are in a position of power. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that in a nefarious way. I mean that they're coming to us for the second largest item ever in their lifetime for the average American. That's one. I don't want to turn around and go to the bank and have my banker, looking all like crazy looking and from this hood and from the street or what have you. I perceive that my banker, my accountant, my realtor are all professional professions. They're going to look the part. Now, again, I love what you said, though, because I could keep it mad professional and converse with billionaires, or I'll keep it ghetto, you know what I mean, because of where I'm from and anything in between. And that's part of being a great salesperson, being able to mirror. This is a psychology that Tianna was talking about before, mirroring your personality with your audience. But I personally think that you should be dressed to impress.
Right. Now, I will say this, Sean, you are 44 years old and, so here's what Sean, I get where Sean is coming from and I agree with it. And I'm just going to add to this point. In 2020, in this decade.
Wait, is that an old joke right now? I'm telling you right now, I was suited up at 2 years old for the record when I sold cars. That's an old joke somewhere. Cut that in.
I get it. But what I'm saying, as a customer, like you look at certain things a different way, right? You were kind of born in the 70s, right? So I'm going to say, here's what I will say.
Shots being fired, man. Dodge the Kevlar. Keep going.
Here's what I'll say. In 2020, in this decade, the way that anyone is going to be successful is in authenticity. Authenticity is the number one thing you can bring to the table. So I agree. I think you should. I mean, come on, don't be raggedy, right? Nobody wants to do business with someone who's raggedy. However, if your personality can't support a suit, then hey, just make sure you look good in whatever it is that you're doing.
I agree.
And make sure that you can pull it off. I got a guy out in California, and I'm actually going to say his name's Harley, right? Which, come on, that totally fits his personality, right? He's a Harley straight dude. He's a straight skater dude, right? But everybody wants to come and buy from him because they're going to get a Harley skateboard, automotive sales presentation type of experience. And he sells 30 cars a month. Easy.
Wow.
Okay.
That's amazing.
It is freaking amazing. 100%. There's a lot of people, and I'm tattooed up too, so I don't want to I know there's people that's your tattoo car guy and stuff, so I'm not opposed to any of that. All I want people to know is that what Tianna said I agree with is that we are in a professional environment and we need to be professional and not be pants sagging and stupid shit like that. We need to be, professional. Okay. So T, the next thing from here is I'm going to lead you because I want you to talk about this. Is one thing that made you famous in our industry internationally. I got $50 billion dealer groups from the United Kingdom know who you are. I got, people from all over the United States, and multiple countries because of your website. I believe that if you truly, and we're going to spend a couple minutes on this, if you truly want to be successful in car sales, you cannot keep waiting for the freaking up bus at the dealership. You need to build your own brand. So can you talk about what you've did and let us know your thoughts on this subject?
Yeah, no, definitely. I believe that the number one problem in dealerships is that they don't teach their salespeople or tell their salespeople, they only tell them, treat car sales as your own business, but they never, give you the tools or utilize any of the resources to help them do that. So, you have to take your own initiative and your own time, own resources to really, start on social media. That's how everybody meets anybody. Nowadays, you can find a babysitter, a dog sitter, dog walker, your wife, spouse, significant other, anything online. So why wouldn't you start your business online on social media? Just get yourself, your name, everything you can out there so that whenever anybody thinks of a car, you're the first person they think of.
Love it.
So I'm going to build on that. You have the tgotyourkeys.com website, which is a Build a Brand website. Shout out to Build a Brand. You have your own, personal social media that you branded T Got Your Keys. You've got business pages. You have your Facebook business page for T Got Your Keys. You created your own YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/T Got Your Keys. You also created your own Facebook business account for Facebook and Instagram ads. So not only do you have your own personal website, all these social media channels, this YouTube channel, but then we're putting ads to, your own platform. How much traffic were you getting? Were you getting a lot of traffic, a lot of views per month?
Yeah, actually, I was getting a lot of views. I love Build a Brand just because on the homepage, you can actually see how many people, view your website actively,
thousands,
monthly.
Right?
Yeah, thousands. And it's absolutely amazing. And it even shows you, the value of your website. So you can definitely see which posts work, which don't. And that's also another thing that I feel like some sales professionals have trouble with is, well, what do I post? What do I make? What content do I write? It's kind of like, think of yourself as you're starting your own new show. Nobody knows how to, Bluetooth this. Nobody knows how to do that. You want to create those videos so that they go to you and not anybody else to find the answer.
LA,
that is so good.
LA, let me jump in here on this because I'm loving this. T, this is what I feel is that you hit it again out of the park is that dealers say the words hollowly, hollow. Car sales is like your own business. And in concept, they drop it on you. But here's the reality. If they fucking knew how to own their own business, they wouldn't be working for you as a car salesperson. They would be their own business entrepreneur. So I believe that dealerships should absolutely be teaching their people how to build their business within it. So let's use, for example, if you work at a GMC dealership and one of our friends and you had a great experience working for Patriot, correct?
Yep. No.
Shout out Patriot. You give them a shout out. Okay.
I love you, Patriot.
I love you, Patriot. There you go. So you did a great job and they mentored you really well. And I appreciate all the time that they invested in you. And it was a win-win. You sold a lot of cars for them and it gave you a lot of experience to work with mom and dad. But to me, Patriot GMC is a franchise of the manufacturer. Folks, if you listen to this, listen to me carefully. Think about what GMC does, what General Motors does for that dealership. They've got guidelines. They got compliances. They provide videos. They provide pictures. They provide blog posts. They provide co-op advertisement, and they incentivize them. And so what the manufacturer does is they try to build the franchise model. That way, if I was the owner, hypothetically, Patriot GMC, the manufacturer, General Motors manufacturer, is giving me all these resources, all this stuff to be able to try to build my business within the General Motors, manufacturer entity. So I think that dealers should really focus on that because instead of worrying about, in my opinion, buying another dealership, another 2 dealerships, another 3 dealerships, brick and mortar, all that liability, all that risk, if they just invested a lot more time and energy in building every individual salesperson to make them do more, be more, and achieve more, they could literally double the amount of money that they're making. LA, on you.
No, you're absolutely telling the truth. And see, the crazy thing is that the automotive industry is just like network marketing. Right. And people are like, what? LA, what are you talking about? Absolutely. See, Sean talks about, the automotive industry being a 30-day business. Insurance is the same way. Right. And I do both. Right. So it's crazy, but it's network marketing. Right. And so, every business kind of works this way. I mean, Sean uses the record label analogy, but it doesn't really matter what it is. But again, if you're a manufacturer, is pouring what they pour, call it what you want to call it, but literally they do pour into Hyundai, Honda, right? Ford, Chevy, all of the manufacturers. They give there's plain old Ford commercials that doesn't have anything to do with a specific dealership. Well, that's to help your dealership. And so what is the dealership doing specifically to help their specific salespeople? And, what are they co-opting? Like, what incentives are they putting in place outside of a simple paycheck, right? To make sure that their people are selling and it's not just monetary. Right. What are some of the key things? So listen, this is one of those conversations that can last forever. And if I allow this to go on, I know it will. So,
okay, I'm going to take the creative liberty and say I need a couple more minutes because to add this is we went in.
Audience, I already know he does that all the time. So I got to stop him a little early.
Yeah. So I know he's got strategy here. So LA, in addition to the digital marketing and building your own brand and investing in that stuff, I think, and T, check this out, I think that salespeople need to invest in their number one skill, talking, communication. If you think about this, the number one thing a salesperson does, whether they're in person with the prospect, they're on the phone or social media, is communicating. So if you are not good at DMing or texting, you need to take a class. If you're typing like with your index fingers, I mean, your brother who's going to be 7 years old tomorrow, he's learning how to type, and there's video games to teach him on how to type faster and things like that. So things like that is professional development. Toastmasters is a gym for speakers. The National Speakers Association is like the major leagues for speaking. People need to learn how to articulate. They need to enhance their vocabulary. They need to be able to command an audience. They need to have stagecraft. And so a lot of times salespeople don't get any type of professional training when it comes to talking, communicating, articulating, conjugating verbs, things like that. LA, can you build on that for a minute or so?
Absolutely, man. I love what you just said as far as a speaking class. That's my thing. Even a writing class.
Yes.
So one of the things that I'm huge on right now, anybody who's big on Hamilton, right? They say Hamilton's skill with the quill is undeniable, right? So that's because if he picked up a pen, he got you. I don't care if he was a lady. That's how he got his wife. That's how he got his right-hand man position with George Washington. That's how everything happened because he has a skill with a quill.
So T, is there any last thing that you think that salespeople need to know or be able to have to be successful on the floor?
Honestly, I think all of the things that we talked about play a part in the bigger picture. I honestly think that the dealership is kind of like an ecosystem. Everybody needs to work together to do their jobs, unless it's not all going to work. So if you don't treat car sales as your own business, you're not going to bring more people in the door. You're not going to sell more cars, and you're not going to make money. So treat car sales as your own business, bring people through the door, and utilize all of your opportunities.
Okay, well, here's the thing, though, because I was hoping you were going to say this, but I'll just lead you because your mom, as far as what does she specialize in? I think
time maximization.
Time maximization. I feel that there's so much dead time, and we have these antiquated rules. The reason why there's bell to bell still in 2020, because that's the way we've been doing it for the last 50 freaking years. Why? Because 50 years ago, people needed to work 60, 70, 80 hours selling cars to be able to justify, 10 car sales or 15 car sales. I don't think that we need to do antiquated Flintstone schedules. It's ridiculous. Not in 2020. Not when we have technology. We have Apple, got Amazon, all the speech recognition stuff. What I'm trying to say to you, bottom line is this, is that with all the modern technology that's out there, it should not take us 70 hours to cook, minute rice. I feel like we're spending 35 minutes to cook minute rice. You don't need to do that. And that's also hurting, millennials. Millennials don't want to work as an indentured servant. Females don't want to work as indentured servants. Yes, us dumb guys do, because that's what we got to do to support the wife and it's just crazy. And so I think, honestly, if dealers on a management level, but specifically salespeople, were taught the science and the skill of time maximization, organization, projecting, forecasting, daily activity tracker. If we could be more productive from the second that we walk into the dealership to the second that we leave in LA, that's all I'm going to say. And if you want me to close it out, you can close it out yourself. But I mean, think about it. Never have I ever had any dealer principal tell me this: Sean, if you could find me a 60, even a 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 800 car salesperson a month, I'm going to make them work bell to bell. To the opposite, people, if you have a real 40, 50 car person, maybe even a 30 car person, you don't give a shit what their schedule is. As long as they're making everybody happy, their CSI is good, who cares? And so I believe that we can really change this industry on a macro level if there's way more time maximization and productivity strategy. LA, can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. No, we totally agree with that, Sean. I mean, there's so much that people are just missing out on that they never even, I don't even think it's not even on their radar. Right. And so that's kind of a lot of the stuff that you're mentioning right now. As a matter of fact, I mean, there's so much stuff right now that I want to ask Tianna. But like I said, I know we're already running out of time. What we're going to do is I want to do another one of these. It's not Sean's fault. He's a natural leader. You naturally ask great questions and you have a lot of advice. But I believe that Tianna has a lot to share with the industry. And so, Tianna, I want to do one either with just me and you, or maybe we can even grab Dylan or something like that, because I really I know there's a lot of stuff inside you that just, needs to be shared with the industry. I listen to the listeners, right? And I know what they're looking for. So even if you guys have questions for Tianna, feel free, send us a message, right? Send a message. I'm just going to give you my specific email address. Send it to law3@dealersynergy.com. And I'm horrible with checking my email. So you might want to CC Tianna, Tianna at dealersynergy.com. And just ask some key questions. And what we'll do is we'll do a podcast where we go through answering your specific questions. Because I mean, I know you guys, I know there's a lot of success that she was able to attain, and other folks want it. And they're like, yo, how do I get that? Mm-hmm. And so that's what we're going to be able to answer for you.
Absolutely. Q&A with Tianna.
Hey, there you go.
Oh, that on the fly. Listen. So I've been effectively voted off the island for the next podcast. No, but that's good, because at least I frame this way. I encourage. I think the next one should be just you and Tianna. We could put D-Rob got his key fob. We could put him on another podcast. Mm-hmm. But I think that what you should do, LA, is take some notes, Tianna, after you hear this podcast, all the things we talked about. And I think a real big question and answer, which is you and LA and our audience, would be perfect. And Tianna, what I want you to be able to do is, I'm going to give you a little bit of homework into the next podcast. I want you to really give me T's top 10 tips. Okay. Like from the last 2+ years of your working in the automotive industry on the front lines, I want you to really come up with T's top 10 tips. LA, that's sexy, right?
Yo, you killing it right now. And listen, let me just help the audience real quick. So this is how great content gets created, because you have a leader like Sean that challenges you, right? What's going to be your top 10, Mr. Listener? What's going to be your top 10 tips, right? When we going to get that video? That's what we want to see. Your top 10 tips that have to do with your industry, that have to do with your brand, that have to do with your make, your model. Do you understand where we're coming from? That's why I'm so happy. That's why I'm leaving all of that in there.
I love it. Well, listen, Tianna, first of all, as your parent, it's an honor to have you work for our company. And I would not have you working in a multi-million-dollar, company that me and your mother worked, all these years, almost 2 decades on, unless you were ready. And I think that, after, your year in college, 2 years on the front lines, selling cars and really grinding it out has prepared you, plus the 13 years of your life that I've known you for, right? Obviously, she's my stepdaughter since she was 8 years old. She's been immersed indirectly into automotive sales. So I want you to close this out, Tianna, by telling us, what are your thoughts about you joining the Dealer Synergy team, and what are you looking to bring to the automotive industry?
I definitely want to bring on a new perspective to the new generation that will be the new cars sellers and buyers. And I definitely want to utilize all of the technology and social media platforms that we now have available that we didn't have back then, because I feel like it's such a big tool and utilization that we definitely need to maximize.
You know what, man? So listen, I always tell you, you are the average of the 5 people who you spend the most time with. And you've just been spending time with Tianna Mick, a.k.a. T Got Your Keys, L.A. Williams, and the one and only Mr. Sean V. Bradley. So now it's your turn. Go out there and be a millionaire car salesman. Talk to y'all next time.
If you like this podcast, check out the world's largest private mastermind automotive group of professionals on Facebook, the Millionaire Car Salesman Group. Search for us in the group section. Over 17,000 strong and growing every day. If you enjoyed this podcast, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave us a review. Let some other folks know about it. Oh, and don't forget to join the Millionaire Car Salesman Group on Facebook. We'll see you there.